In this video, I'm going to show you how to use calendar blocking to find time to study, manage everyday tasks, balance family and working while you're attending college classes. So what is calendar blocking? Calendar blocking is exactly what it sounds like. It's when you block off time in your calendar or planner to work on specific activities, events, and tasks. The reason why this method of planning is used so often is because our brain actually doesn't have any concept of time. Whenever it's looking at a to-do list, it thinks that it has to get everything done right then and there, which is why we tend to get overwhelmed when we have these overwhelmingly long to-do lists. So one of the things that can really help your brain make sense of everything that you have to get done is by making time visible to your brain, allowing it to see the realities, the boundaries, the framework that it has to work with on a daily and a weekly basis. Now, because I know I'm going to get this question, what type of a planner is best for calendar blocking? Because calendar blocking is based off of blocking off time in your calendar, the best type of planners to use are ones that have hourly time slots. So whether this is a digital calendar like Google or iCal, or a paper planner like Erin Condren, Passion Planner, the Planner Pad, which is the one that I used when I was in nursing school, and even the College Productivity Kit, which is the planner that I created for college students. Those are all great calendars that have hourly time slots for you to do your time blocking in. Now, I know this may seem really simple, but I'm really gonna break down today how to move through the process of blocking time on your calendar. And this is the way that I teach my students inside of my program, Educated: The Art of Becoming a Good Student. We call it the Master Your Study Schedule method. And I have students break out their time slots into different categories. So we start off first by putting everything in your calendar that's set in stone, meaning these are already pre-allotted times that you don't really have control over changing. So this is things like your work schedule, your class schedule, office hours, any activities that your kids might be in, any meetings that you have to be at that happen on a specific date and time. Once all of those things are in your calendar, now we have a framework to work with, because all of the white space that's left over is the time that you have control over. What I mean by that is you get to decide how you spend this time. So now that you know the time that you have to work with, the next thing that you want to block off in your calendar is actually your free time. Now, I know this seems counterintuitive. I know you're gonna want to fight me on this because you're busy and you have a lot of things that you're trying to get done in a short period of time. But I'm telling you that if you don't schedule this out first, you will easily find yourself working all of the time without a lot of breaks. And this is what causes students to become overwhelmed, to burn out, to feel like they need to take a break from school because they're not taking care of their human. I always ask my students, what does your human need and what does student you need? Human you needs to eat, needs to rest, needs to take time off, because that's how our brain actually learns best, is by having time to process the information. We can't work all of the time. It will work against you in regards to doing well in your classes. So free time gets blocked off first. Now, the guidelines that I give my students is if you're someone who historically has not given yourself free time and you freak out even thinking about taking a day off, start off really slow. Half a day, maybe 4 hours in the evening on a Sunday night where you're not doing anything school related or job related. It's just time for you to do whatever the hell you want. When you start getting more comfortable, you can start doing a full day, maybe even a weekend. A lot of my students end up having study-free weekends because of the way that I teach how to block off your time, which I'm sharing with you today. So once the free time is in your calendar, the next thing that you actually want to block off is your planning time. So this is anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour where you are going through this calendar blocking. So Sunday night or Monday mornings are a great time for you to sit down and brain dump everything that you want to get done for that week, everything that you need to get done for that week. You put in all your set in stone times, your work schedule, office hours, any activities that your kids have, and you're brain dumping everything that needs to get done that week. Once that time is blocked off in your schedule, the next thing that you want to put in is overflow time. Overflow time is my favorite thing to schedule time for because this is what allows you to have your own back, to really treat yourself with compassion because listen, shit is going to happen. Life is going to happen, and sometimes we're not going to be able to stick to our schedule perfectly. Sometimes things are going to take longer than we anticipated, and what overflow time allows for, it's a buffer. So in case you go over time or in case something comes up and you have to move things aside, you have that time where anything that is overflowing, anything that didn't work out the way that you thought can go into, and you're not having to push things back constantly, causing yourself to be behind on your assignments because you've already scheduled this catch-all in so that you stay on track. Okay, now remember how I said that during planning time, you're writing out all of the things that you want to get done during the week? This is actually the last thing that you're going to block into your schedule. So the way that I teach my students is after you've created your list of things that you want to get done during the week, you're actually going to pre-decide. So you're deciding ahead of time how much time you're going to give yourself to get those things done. This is a guesstimate. If again, historically, you're someone who tends to go over time, be generous with the time that you give yourself to get things done. So overestimate, because worst comes to worst, if you don't need that full amount of time, now you have free time to either get started on something else or just relax. But it gets kind of crazy when you don't give yourself enough time because you start to run over, things start to get pushed back, and then you feel bad about yourself as a student because you weren't able to stick to your schedule. So if we are generous with our time and block everything out, it works. Now I want you to get a sense of what this looks like in practice. So I'm going to switch over to my Google Calendar and I'm going to walk you through what this process looks like to actually calendar block at the beginning of your week every single week. All right, so let's set up our calendar blocking. I am using Google Cal simply because it's just the easiest way for me to demonstrate to you, but in college I was a paper planner girl through and through. There are some nice features of calendar blocking on a digital calendar like Google Cal or iCal, and that's being able to have repeated events. So you only have to put it in one time and it will auto repeat for you. And then also it's just easier to move things around if you do have to move them around. And you can also link things like your Blackboard or your syllabus or anything like that within the event itself. So let me show you how to set up your calendar in Google Cal. So you're going to come under where it says other calendars, hit the plus button, create new calendar. You're going to want to give your calendar a name, a description if you prefer, and then you're going to hit create calendar, and then that new calendar will show up under here. When your calendar is created, you can click on these three dots and you'll be able to color code them however it is that you choose and desire. How you add events into your Google Cal is you simply click. You can adjust the time frame. So if you need half an hour, 2 hours, you just drag, and you'll want to give the event a name. I'll just say lecture time for now. The appropriate calendar you want it set under. To set things to repeat, you can click on the date and the time, click on where it says do not repeat, and then you can decide it repeats daily, weekly, Monday through Friday. You can also customize it for specific days, and you can customize when these repeated events end. So if you know that your semester is only 16 weeks long, you can say end after 16 occurrences. Or if you know the end date of your semester is May 13th, you can also just have it end on a particular date. And then again, you can have it repeat once every week, daily, monthly, yearly, etc. Underneath, add location. This is where you can put like whatever building your professor's office hours are in, or whatever building and classroom this lecture meets in. And then you can also attach your syllabus here. You can attach your login link for Blackboard or Canvas. And if you are putting in your quizzing and recalling and you're using something like Quizlet, you can also drop the link to the Quizlet flashcard deck that you're going to be studying during that time. So it just makes everything really convenient for you to be able to access it right then and there. Okay, so here are the calendars that I recommend that you set up as a student. So the first one is your due dates and exam dates. So at the beginning of the semester, when you get your syllabi, come in to your paper planner or digital planner and put in all of your due dates and exam dates, paper deadlines, etc. into your calendar first. You also want to have a calendar set up for getting things done. So this is going to be like your daily to-do, the things that you're deciding to get done on that day. Job, if you're working. Most of the students who watch my YouTube channel are full-time students who work part-time to full-time. Your kids' schedule, if you're a parent, so daycare times, any events that they're a part of, when they occur, etc. Lecture times, so that's obvious, the classes that you're taking and when they meet. And then I also recommend that you input all of your professor's office hours. This isn't a calendar that you're going to have turned on all of the time, but it is one that you can click on and off so that if you decide that you're going to go to office hours that week, you know when it's happening and it's in your calendar for just easy reference. And then the last one is for personal life. So this is for your free time. This is for workout time. This is for commuting time. This is for getting ready in the morning. So it's for your personal appointments, like doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, etc. So those are the calendars that I recommend. So once you have all of that set up, if you're using a paper planner, the way that I broke up my calendar when I was using a paper planner in college is I just used different color highlighters to represent those different categories of my life. So first things first, make sure you put in all of your appointments and schedules that are set in stone. So when your classes meet, okay, you want to put that in. When you work, okay, you also want to put in when you're going to eat, your commuting time if you have to commute to and from. If you're someone who works out religiously on a specific date, on a specific time, you also want to put that in your calendar. So for me, anything that is set in stone is this is happening on this date and time, come hell or high water. It's happening on this date and time, come hell or high water. I will be there. It is happening. That's what I consider set in stone. Okay. Or it's something that the time is already allotted for, like your work schedule or your class schedule. You don't have control over when that happens. Okay. The reason why we put all this stuff in is because now we get to actually see how much time we have to get day-to-day life tasks done and our schoolwork done. We are not being delusional. We are not living in a fantasy life. We are dealing with reality here. This is actually how much time I have every single week to get what I need to get done. This is what I'm dealing with, which means you're going to have to make some tough decisions sometimes, and you're going to have to get strategic about how you approach getting your work done. But this is really important for you to do this so that you can get a realistic view of what you're dealing with, okay? And I recommend that you decide ahead of time when you're going to have days off, because if you don't decide ahead of time, it's probably not going to happen, okay? So once that's put in, the next thing before you move into putting in all your to-dos that you need to get done is actually deciding when you're going to have overflow time. So overflow time is any time that you're deciding ahead of time, it's going to be used in case life happens. So this is emergency time that you have available to you in case shit happens, in case you get sick and you can't do something on the date and time that you said that you were going to do it, in case you get interrupted, in case something takes you longer than you thought it would. This is the time frame that you're going to use, and the amount of time that you give yourself is dependent on you. So I'm going to say Saturday for me, overflow time. I'm going to put this under getting things done. Okay. The goal is to not have to use this time, because I'm going to honor my word to myself and honor my calendar and do what I said that I was going to do on the date and time I said I was going to do it. Okay. This is just space that I have carved out because I am a human being. I'm going to mess up. I'm not going to guess the right amount of time. Things are going to happen. I might get sick. My kid may not be able to go to daycare, etc. So this is just me having my own back here. I'm going to make sure that I am giving myself some wiggle room in case things happen, because sometimes they will, and they do. Once that's done, either on Saturday or Sunday, what I do is I typically will sit down and I will look at the exams that are coming up. I will look at the assignments that are coming up that are due. I will take a look at my personal life calendar and just see if I have any appointments coming up, whatever it is. And once I've looked at all of that, I will then come in and either on paper, which is my preferred way, or for the purposes of this, I'm going to type it up. I'm going to brain dump everything that I desire to get done that week or has to get done that week because I have assignments due, homework due, whatever it is, and I'm just going to brain dump it all out. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do. So I will put in like bio, reading, and notes for chapter 1. I will put in things like schedule hair appointment, grocery shopping, calc 1, homework problem set, whatever it is that needs to get done that week. Once I've listed all those things out, the next thing that I will do is I will decide ahead of time how much time I'm going to give myself to get those things done. And just know that you're not going to be great at guesstimating at the beginning. You're probably going to give yourself less time than it's actually going to take you. So we just historically as human beings are terrible at guessing how long things are going to take us. So I tend to give myself more time that I think is necessary, because if I don't happen to use up the entire amount of time, then I just have extra time to do whatever it is that I want to do or to get a head start on things. If I happen to give myself less time than is necessary, then I'm having to deal with using my overflow time and moving things around, and it becomes a hot mess. So I just like to give myself grace and compassion and know that I'm human, and I give myself more time than I think I'm going to need. So for reading my notes, I'm going to say 2.5 hours. For the hair appointment, it's going to take me like 15 minutes. Grocery shopping, it'll take me like 2 hours. Driving to and from and putting it all away when I get home. My calc homework problem, I'm going to say it takes me about an hour to get through that. Okay, so once I've done that brain dump list, it'll look something like this, where I have all of the things I want to get done or need to get done that week, and I've decided how much time I'm giving myself. Now it's time for me to actually put all these things in my calendar and decide when I'm going to get it done. So how I decide when I'm going to get things done is dependent on what's happening that week, what is coming up, what's due that week. That's how I'm going to make my decisions. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to put in is my personal stuff. So the grocery shopping, I usually do grocery shopping and meal prepping on the weekend, on the Sunday. So I'm going to do grocery shopping, and then I'm going to do meal prepping, and I gave myself 2 hours for both things. So that is all scheduled in. And then because I want to get my hair done and my nails done on Saturday, I'm also going to just schedule this out a week ahead. So 15 minutes for each. Schedule hair and nail appointment. Okay, cool. And then that's all that I have time for on Sunday because it's free time. I'm going to do what I want to do on that day. Okay. So next up is I will just cross these things off of my list. So that I know that I've already decided when it's going to happen. And now I'm going to move into like my schoolwork stuff. So I'm going to need 2.5 hours to read for bio. And I prefer to either have my reading done ahead of going into lecture or immediately after. So I'm going to need like 2 to 2.5 hours on Monday after my bio class to get this reading done. So I am going to schedule this in. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a break. Okay, so and then the rest of the time I will do here. Okay, and then that's all the time I have on Monday to like do any work because I have to go to work, and then I'm working from 3 to 11. And I usually am so beat that I'm not doing any work after the fact. Okay, so on Tuesday, I don't have any time available to get any work done because I'm literally in class all day long and then I work. So nothing's going to be happening on Tuesday. But I do know that I have homework for my calc class due on Friday, and I like to get it done early. So in case I need to get help with tutoring, I have that time available. So I know it's going to take me about an hour to get my calc homework done. So I'm going to get it done on Wednesday. And then that gives me time to go to tutoring right before work. And the tutoring sessions at my school are 30 minutes. So schedule that in. Okay, cool. So this is already scheduled. This is scheduled. Okay, so what's left? Okay, so I have a lab report due next week for bio, and I won't have the lab until Tuesday, and it's gonna take me like 3 hours to get it done. And I am someone who I like to put, like, when it's big assignments, I'm not somebody that likes to do a lot of like little things spread out. I like to work on it all at once in like big chunks because all my focus and attention is on there. And so looking at my schedule, the only day that would be possible would be the Friday. So I'm going to work on it for 2 hours on Friday. I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to finish it off right before heading into work. Okay, so that leaves this big chunk of reading that I have to do for my English Lit class. And again, I like to batch as many tasks together as I can. And because these are chapter books and I'm going to be annotating, it would be nice to kind of just have it flow. And I'm going to need like 4 hours to do this. The only place I have that is on Saturday. And I'm going to get started between 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, and 2 to do that. So I will take little breaks in between, but this is the chunk of time that I'm blocking off for this. Okay, so this is what my calendar looks like after all of that. As long as I stick to this the way that it is listed out, and as you can see, I have a psych class and I didn't even brain dump for that, but I would obviously have noticed that and gone back in and decided, okay, when am I going to get my psych reading done? And I literally only have like these blocks of time to do it. So it'll have to get done during one of those times, but I'm not concerned about any of this because I'm having breaks throughout the day. I'm taking care of myself. I'm going to sleep at a decent hour. I have 2 like big chunks of time on the weekend that are study free where I'm just relaxing. And I know that as long as I stick to the schedule to the best of my ability, I'm going to have a well-balanced life. So this is the reason why we calendar block, is for us to get a realistic sense of where we have time to get things done. And it helps us to make better decisions about how much time we're going to give ourselves for things, how much support we're going to need, whether or not we need to get a little bit more strategic and effective with our study routine because of the amount of time that we have. That's the reason why calendar blocking helps, because otherwise our brain has no concept of time and it will think that everything needs to get done right now, and it'll imagine that it has way more time than it has, or it will think that it doesn't have any time. But when you look at it on a calendar like this, you're dealing with the actual facts and you can make decisions from a neutral place, not a drama-filled place. Okay, so the practical stuff is covered. Now I want to talk about some of the hardest things to figure out when you're calendar blocking. So what if you block off tasks into your calendar and you underestimate it? So it's taking you longer and you have something else scheduled immediately after. What do? Do you just go over time? Do you pause? What do you do? So in the way that I teach students, my recommendation is to not go over time. So if you gave yourself 2 hours to complete your reading and you actually needed 3 hours, and right after you were supposed to start work on another assignment, stop the reading and get to work on the other assignment. And I want you to take a note of the fact that you didn't finish, because what this is doing is it's giving you data. 2 hours clearly isn't enough for you to read and take notes for this particular class. So next week, when you're doing your calendar blocking, you're actually going to give yourself 3 hours instead of 2. It's really important that you don't go over time. And the reason why this is important is because this starts to build self-trust. When you stick to your word, stick to what is on your calendar, you are learning to trust yourself. You're learning to make decisions. You're learning to get more efficient. with your time. So this brings me to the next question. What do you do if after everything is blocked off, you feel like you don't have enough time, or you're facing reality, you literally only have 10 hours a week to study? What do you do if you feel like you need 20? The best thing that you can do for yourself is to accept what is. What I mean by that is just be okay with the fact that you honestly only have 10 hours to work with every single week. Now, what this means is you're gonna have to ask yourself better questions. Instead of wishing you had more time, instead of complaining about the fact that you don't have enough time, start asking yourself, how can I make the most of these 10 hours? How can I be the most efficient, the most effective with these 10 hours that I have? This is going to allow you to collapse time. What I mean by that is that the 10 hours will eventually become enough, because you're gonna figure out how to get 20 hours worth of work done in 10 hours. You're gonna have to get creative. You're gonna have to make some really tough decisions about what you're willing to do and not do. And again, these are the things that students don't want to do, and the students that don't do it continue to struggle with managing their time. They can continue to feel like they're struggling and they're overwhelmed. But when you learn to work with the realities of the time it is that you have, you become a time management ninja. And these are the things that I teach to my students, is how to navigate this, how to make these decisions, and be okay with how uncomfortable they can be sometimes. Another question that I know that you're probably gonna have is, how do you decide how much time to give yourself? So you can go one of two ways here. You can honestly just guesstimate and know that you're probably going to be wrong. You're probably gonna need more time than you thought that you needed, and that's okay, right? This is a learning process. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna always assess at the end of every week, what worked, what didn't work, where did I need more time, where can I adjust for the week coming up. So you can just guess and then make sure that you are taking note of where you needed more time and make those adjustments for the week to come. The other way that you can approach this is you can actually take a week or two to track your time, to track how long it's taking you to get through a chapter, to track how long it's taking you to work through a problem set, to track how long it's taking you to commute. And then based off of that data, you can then give yourself the time frame that is needed and necessary. This isn't a perfect science. This is a lot of trial and error. It does take a lot of self-assessment. It does take you being willing to rework things and figure out what you're gonna need week to week. You're not gonna be able to follow the same schedule for 12 weeks. Sometimes that does work out perfectly, but you're a human being. Life happens. Things are gonna need to be adjusted. So remain flexible with your schedule. Not in a way where you're just like not sticking to it at all, but you're making the necessary changes as you're getting the data to do so. Okay, so the last and final thing that's probably going through your mind is sticking to the schedule, which is honestly the hardest thing for everyone. You're probably not gonna want to do what you said that you were gonna do on your calendar when it comes time to do it. There is nothing wrong with you if this happens. This is literally how humans are built. We are meant to seek out pleasure, avoid pain, and avoid effort. So when it comes down to sit down on Tuesday at 7 p.m. to get through 5 chapters of reading, you're probably not going to feel like it. Just expect that to happen. This is the reason why, in addition to these practical skills like studying, note-taking, blocking out time on your schedule, I also help students with the mindset piece that they need to overcome their procrastination tendencies. Because there is a scientific reason why we procrastinate, and it has nothing to do with not being disciplined enough, not being motivated enough, not knowing how to manage your time well enough. And I promise you, you're not self-sabotaging. Nobody wakes up every single day and makes a list of all the ways that they can ruin their life. It just doesn't happen. self-sabotage isn't a thing. The key to overcoming procrastination is understanding why you're doing it in the first place, because the only reason why we procrastinate is because we're trying to avoid something. So in my anti-procrastination guide for the college woman who's brilliant and tired of failing, I walk you through all of the reasons why we procrastinate and give you practical tools that you can use to move through your procrastination. Because to be honest with you, it's not going anywhere. We just get better at catching ourselves when we're procrastinating and redirecting and moving through it so that we can become the type of person who is more consistent with their study routine, is more consistent with sticking to their schedule, and is able to accomplish the things that they set out when they enrolled in college. And if you want to have another tool in your back pocket to help you get back to studying even when you don't feel like it, you should definitely watch this video over here. I talk about exactly what to do when you don't feel like studying so that you can get back into the groove of things. And if you haven't already, make sure that you comment, like, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.